Oh, it's trying. Looks like it's really trying. I mean, you can see streaks of orange upstairs. But according to the forecast, sunrise today happens at 7:11 and it's 7:06. Welcome to Saturday. I'm Brian, and that means it's Brian's Beat, the only show born at the apex of freedom, entrepreneurship, and nomadism. ABC told us what they want us to know. Now it's my turn to do the same. The Bruins and the Celtics, they both play tonight. The Bruins, I don't want to put them in the same category as the Patriots. Not looking good for them. I think they've lost 3 in a row. At any rate, they play at home tonight against Toronto. The Celtics, they play in Detroit tonight. Now, I know the basketball season isn't 1 week old, but the Celtics are undefeated. Hope I didn't jinx them. Game 2 of the World Series tonight in Los Angeles. The Dodgers winning with a walk-off grand slam homer last night. And then we have the Patriots. The Patriots host the New York Jets, a team that beat them in a Thursday night game a few weeks ago. The game right here on WBSM, starting with the pregame, 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. What else? 6 days till Halloween. 34 days till Thanksgiving. And we have 60 shopping days before Christmas. A new, dusty look, but the same old cobblestone problems in downtown New Bedford. The heck with Question 5, TGI Fridays. They've decided to close their doors already. They're closed. Went out of business on Thursday. What's that nauseating stench down in the south end of New Bedford? Israel bombs Iran. Here we are 11 days before Election Day, and nearly 1 million Bay Staters have already voted. The Washington Post has endorsed presidential candidates for more than 30 years. What's stopping them this year? I'll tell you after the Brian's Beat quote of the day. Jim talks MCAST on Town Square Sunday. The Bitcoin Biz Barometer next half hour. Monthly Fee RX brings us the Brian's Beat quote of the day. After we learn just a little bit more about today, October 26th, 2024. For one thing, today is Chicken Fried Steak Day. I didn't know what to think when I first heard about chicken fried steak. It wasn't today. It's steak that's deep fried and powdered and no thank you. Chicken Fried Steak Day. I know people like it. I will pass. Day of the Deployed. I'm not exactly sure when this date came about, why we commemorate it, but it's another one that's thrown in there. It's a date marking troops that have been sent overseas or into combat. And it's not an international day. It's a national day, just Day of the Deployed. I thank all those that have been deployed. I don't thank those, at least in the recent past, that have deployed our troops. Horseless Carriage Day. Horseless Carriage Day. Now, when I thought about horseless carriage, and I did look it up, When I first thought, I said, okay, they're talking about the automobile. It's not just the automobile. It could be a bicycle. I mean, that's horseless. And it gets you around, and you can have little baskets on it, so it could be a horseless carriage. Now, there's a denotation, and there's the connotation. And the connotation could be any type of technology that's an improvement over the old technology. I'm sure there are lots of cowboys and cowgirls that will tell you that the old technology of the horse is still better than the car. But I'm sure that there'll be some people that will tell you that the automobile is better than the airplane. Howl at the moon, night, not day, night. Hug a sheep day. I threw that in there because, quite frankly, I don't know who do you know that goes up and hugs a sheep? Hug a sheep day. I threw this one in there because I thought you might want to know that there is such a day to commemorate Intersex Awareness Day. I did not stutter. Intersex Awareness Day. You go look it up. I did, and quite frankly, as the name intersex states, I was confused. And I remain confused. Maybe there's somebody who can explain it in Brian language so I can understand what Intersex Awareness Day is. Actually, just give me the intersex part. The awareness, I guess it kind of goes with it. Kiwanis One Day. That's the Kiwanis Club. Kiwanis One Day. Make a Difference Day. There seems to be quite a few Make a Difference days. And I know many of us want to make a difference. So if you didn't do it on the last Make a Difference Day, do it today. Make a difference. Mince Meat Pie Day. Once again, another just, have a pie day. Leave it at that, a pie day. Let's not break down every pie. Apple, cobbler, pineapple, who's dingy pie. Just pie day. National Mule Day. I think the mule and the sheep should just go somewhere else. National Mule Day. Here's one. National Pit Bull Awareness Day. You see a pit bull running down the street, you're aware. National Pit Bull Awareness Day. Whew. Okay, well, thanks for the warning. Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. This is the day that people take their prescriptions that have expired and they take them in somewhere to have them properly disposed of, because apparently it's not safe to flush prescriptions down the toilet. I guess they'll harm the pipes. If these drugs harm the pipes of a toilet, the drain pipes, what are they doing to the pipes inside of your body? Yeah, I know who I am. I know I represent companies that deal with pharmaceutical drugs. But I'm, if you can't throw these things down the pipe at home because they're going to do damage there, you tell me. It's also Pumpkin Day. I was at Stop and Shop yesterday. Market Basket a couple of days before that. There are a whole bunch of pumpkins, It's that time of year. I get it. But I wonder, do moms in particular, do they still carve pumpkins to make them into jack-o'-lanterns? Or is that a thing of the past? Pumpkin Day. Wonder how many countries celebrate Halloween. Think they're celebrating Halloween in Mexico? I don't know. I'm asking. Think they're celebrating trick-or-treat in Bolivia? Think they celebrate Halloween in Malaysia? I'm betting they don't celebrate Halloween in Haiti. Just a bet. On this date in 1825, the Erie Canal opens for passage from the Hudson River to, guess where? Lake Erie. I guess it's better than saying Lake Huron. The Erie Canal. Big shootout at the OK Corral. Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday. On this date in 1881. And on this date in 2001, Congress passes the Patriot Act. Still leaves a bad taste in my mouth. 9/11 certainly left a bad taste, but then what immediately followed, including the Patriot Act, and every time that the Patriot Act hits that sunset clause, Congress seems to renew it. Throw it out there as a question. Is it time to get rid of the Patriot Act? Your thoughts, 508-996-0500, which leads me to the Bryans-Beat Quote of the Day, brought to you by Monthly Fee RX. You have allergies, diabetes, high blood pressure, plus take prescription drugs for your heart. With this service, you could get all of your meds and have them delivered for one small monthly price. MonthlyFeeRx.com. And the Bryans-Beat Quote of the Day from Patrick Henry. Kind of timely since we just brought up the USA Patriot Act. Perfect freedom is as necessary to the health and vigor of commerce as it is to the health and vigor of citizenship. Patrick Henry. Perfect freedom is as necessary to the health and vigor of commerce as it is to the health and vigor of citizenship. Interesting. All right. Oops. I did something wrong there, and I shouldn't have done that. Let's try this and let's try that. All right. At any rate, so I drove through downtown New Bedford this morning. And as I got to William Street, passing Pleasant, you know how we get into the cobblestones. They were dusty looking. And I thought, wow, I thought they just repurposed, for lack of a better term, repointed. That's it. Yes, thank you. And the same experience happens whether they have been repointed or over the past several years. And that is, what are these cobblestones doing to my suspension, to my shocks, to my springs? They look nice. I won't take that away. They certainly look nice. Woman friend, she doesn't even want me driving on the cobblestones. I mean, I like to look around to see what's going on, and so I will drive over the cobblestones. But, you know, the wear and tear on an automobile, on the motorhome, when I used to take the motorhome down there, oh, wow. It's like driving through the potholes in the city. So, at any rate, just to let you know, they've been repointed, and apparently they will last for a long time. And here's something I didn't know. I found this by reading the Standard Times, Faith Harrington's article, that underneath the cobblestones, there are more cobblestones. So any wonder the road is all crooked? At any rate, I also took a little trip up to see Frederick Douglass. I saw him last week. I saw him the week before. I think twice the week before. But this time, I stopped and I asked him a question. So I said, Frederick, what do you think about the freedom of expression, the Bill of Rights #1? And he gave me that same look that he gives me every time. Just that cane sitting straight up. And I said, do you realize that a few hundred yards from where you sit, that there was a fishing boat that was in distress, and this fishing boat just happened to have a flag that was against offshore windmills, offshore wind. And police came up to the captain of that boat and asked the captain to take that flag down, that freedom of expression flag down, because there were politicians and bigwigs, bureaucrats, who were there to celebrate something dealing with offshore wind. Frederick gave me that look. And I've come to realize when Frederick Douglass gives me that particular look, doesn't matter if it's daytime, nighttime, he is telling me, beware, beware. Then I said, Frederick, do you know there's a newspaper called the Washington Post? And the Washington Post, for years and years and years, then I said for decades, more than one generation, the Washington Post has put out some type of editorial endorsing a presidential candidate. They went to do the same thing this year, and they were going to endorse Kamala Harris. And I said, Frederick, you know, I could give a rat's you-know-what about Kamala Harris. But it's a newspaper endorsement. And then I said to him, you know, I'm kind of torn. And he gave me that look of, well, Brian, what are you torn against? And I said, well, the reason why the Washington Post did not endorse a candidate is because the owner of the newspaper said, you're not going to do it. You're just not going to do it. Who's the owner of the Washington Post? None other than Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon. He put the kibosh on the editorial this year and maybe for years to come. Welcome back, 508-996-0500. Jim has a Town Square Sunday preview coming up in just a bit. A question came up. Before I see you right there, I'm going to get to you. Question came up. So why are you worried here about Jeff Bezos and the Washington Post. Well, he's the owner. So the buck stops with him. But at the same time, he's not the operator of the newspaper. And this is something the paper has been doing for the longest time. Not that I care one iota whether or not they endorse Harris or Trump or my person. But it's just the thought that he's getting himself involved in the actual operation of the paper, which I guess, it's his money. He can do it if he wants. But hello.
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 Hello. Good morning. It's hoping it was going to be sunny this morning, but it's quite overcast here.
Yeah, it's supposed to break off toward the afternoon from what I've been told.
The earth is breaking off or the clouds?
Both. You know
Okay.
it is. It's climate change.
That's true. So it's climate changes every day from where I'm sitting.
Yep.
I'm not too freaked
the
out
way
by
I
it.
look at it is the sun comes up, the sun goes down. And sometimes it doesn't.
Yep. That's true. I don't always see the sun go down because sometimes there's cloud cover.
There you go.
Anyway.
But that way you don't see it come up.
Exactly. Well, the thing that's been bothersome about the modern entrepreneur that owns media is that they have, they put their finger on the pulse or on the stories more than they ever have. Used to be that they, I'm sure going back that they had a lot of influence, obviously, because they were the owner. So if the president needed something suppressed, they'll call the owner and the owner will call the editor and that sort of thing would happen. But that generally was during a national crisis or something. But, it seems like, the owners of mainstream media, whatever you want to call it, and Jeff Bezos, and you could even say, Twitter, you could say,
Sure.
Snapchat, any media source, social media source, they've it's pretty clear that the editorial department is told to go one way or the other, whether it's Fox on one side or MSNBC, ABC, NBC, whatever. And that's the tipping point, which is instead of letting the editorial staff do their job, starting with, the editors of the people that set up the articles and how, read them for continuity before they put them out. Now they're told to lean left or lean right, and to not be,
or not
passionate about it anymore. Yeah. And so, their credibility at this point is really going out the window. I mean, almost the average person now can see it more clearly because they have other sources of media. They can do their own selective journalism going through with a Facebook or X or whatever they want to go through, even Facebook, YouTube, I meant to say. And you can learn a lot more because you're going to get a certain angle. Even if you listen to your ABC news breaks over the hour, I laugh at most of them because right now they're all heavily leaning, towards, the Democratic candidate. Bash Trump or bash the right, and then push the positives, if there is any, of the Democratic candidate. And it doesn't bother me. I mean, because I have enough information from other places to make my own decisions, but for a lot of people, they don't have that. And so they think when they hear that, Trump is this or whatever, they assume it's true because they feel like it's had to have been vetted by somebody that they wouldn't put it out, right? If it wasn't true.
I think that is very true. I will disagree with your part that they only have they have options that they don't choose to utilize them.
What do you mean?
So you said that they don't have any other options, as they might just listen to ABC. They have options. They just don't choose. Yeah. Yes, the people. I'm sorry. They just don't choose to try other sources.
Well, I think that if you pick, 10 people out of New Bedford, I don't know how many of those percentage would have internet access. Probably on their phone they would. And then you kind of have to say, well, how do you find fresh news sources, ones that are more trustworthy or multiple that create a verification of what you're hearing? And I think that's a lot of work. It's not super easy. And, it took me a couple of years to get enough YouTube sources that I can, click on them as I go. And then I get the general sense of what's going on. I follow very left-wing YouTube channels, ones that are the guys that are on the ground during protests, for Palestinians. So, I mean, how else am I going to learn what, Palestinian protesters are trying to say if I don't really hear what they're saying versus the mainstream media, which is going to homogenize it and tell me what I should think. You know what I mean? So,
it's kind of, I have to tell you, that's pretty much what I say about ABC. Not that I'm picking on them, but I do say ABC is going to let you know what they want you to know.
Right. So,
then I also say the same thing. I'm going to let you know what I want you to know.
Well, I know you're a general opinion source. So I get that. It's, friendly Brian's opinion on Saturday morning. I will say one thing, though, is last night was a sea change in media, which is, Trump had his Joe Rogan podcast, and I think it drew 17 million people around that, from what I could tell. Wasn't a really good interview. I saw the whole thing, and it was like, Trump is one of those guys. Certainly, I'm going to vote for him, but I hate the way he talks, and it's not, he says a lot of stuff that's he talks too much. Like if you try to say I'm going from A to B, when Trump talks from A to B, there's 100 more letters in between.
I was going to say there's A1, A2, A3.
Exactly, and the problem is that sometimes you want a bottom line of conversation, and he just talks in circles, and that's where he gets in trouble because he'll say something like last night. He started a sentence by saying, Joe, women are dumb. And he literally said that. My wife was sitting next to me and she said, oh, they're going to clip that, because he didn't put it in context. He was actually complaining about something, but specifically about something about these two women. And I can't remember what it was, but if he had started with their names and then said these two are dumb, that's insulting, but
at least, there's context.
Right.
Right.
But at the end of the day, is what I'm trying to point out is that Joe Rogan and podcast media, which is an open forum, that's going to be in the next few years. That's where, you might not even have debates. You might just have people go on Rogan and then he interviews you, for instance, or whatever other podcast, Charlemagne or whatever, and they interview you, and then, it's more of a conversation versus the debate format, which is already corrupted. It's clearly corrupted this year.
I think you're absolutely correct. I'm going to let you go with that. But no, I think you hit it on the point. In fact, from what I can see, folks are already going that route being the podcast route. Thank you much for your call. 508-996-0500 to get onto the program today. Do I have time for this right now? I do. It's time now for the Bitcoin Biz Barometer, where we measure the universal crypto marketplace. Here we are. I get my numbers, as I always do, from coinmarketcap.com. Bitcoin is down almost $1,300 from last week at this time, coming in at $67,063. Ethereum, 2,470. That's down about 175. Binance Coin, 581, down 16. Solana at 168. That's up $14. XRP, 51 cents, down 3 cents. Dogecoin is down a penny at 13 cents, and up a penny is Tron at 16 cents. That's your Bitcoin Biz Barometer for today, October 26, 2024. As I mentioned earlier, I get my numbers from CoinMarketCap.com because CoinMarketCap updates each and every second all of the different crypto and Bitcoin each and every second of the day. A couple of things I want to throw in there before we get hot under the collar. I was sitting with my son, one of my sons, on Sunday. We were watching the Patriots debacle in London. And I'm not quite sure. Oh, we were talking about holidays. And I had mentioned to him that Veterans Day is coming up, but I believe here at the radio station, instead of Veterans Day being a holiday, a lot of people take the Friday after Thanksgiving to make it a nice long weekend. And he understood the reasoning, but he came up with something that I thought, well, you've heard me say it before. I'm not sure that the son has ever heard me utter these words. But he said that Veterans Day is one of those holidays that really needs to be looked at over again, because in his world, Veterans Day, which I think marks 1918, he wasn't quite sure that it was the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And I had to mention that to him. But honestly, I know that because it was beaten into my brain when I was in elementary school. I'm not sure that that's one of the things that teachers teach today, nor do I think that it really needs to be taught. But my point is, again, not to take anything away from a veteran, except maybe this particular holiday. I think that Veterans Day and Memorial Day can be celebrated on the same date, because only veterans, let me try it this way. Those that have passed away, they're not celebrating. We celebrate what they did, but we celebrate every veteran. And so why are we having this extra day off? Today is a commemoration day of the deployed. Again, not to take anything away from anybody who's served in our military. But it seems that we have so many different military-oriented days. If you go to Rhode Island, they celebrate VJ Day, victory over Japan. I'm glad we won. You know, thankfully it's not a nationwide. Can you imagine a day off here in the Commonwealth? And I appreciate it that it's just basically a state holiday. We celebrate Patriots Day. But sometimes I think government does these holidays so they can give their workers another day off. Because if you ever notice a federal holiday, it works its way right down the ranks. Federal workers get the day off. State workers get the day off. Municipal workers get that day off. And on a day like that, when maybe somebody might want to go to the library to do some studying, well, guess what? The library workers have that day off, so the library is closed. 508-996-0500. Today is your last day to register to vote in the upcoming presidential election, and there's only one presidential part of the election. There are a whole bunch of other things to vote on. And I know we talked a little bit about it on Monday when I was filling in for Barry. But Barry brought something to my attention yesterday. I still haven't seen the story from State House News. I think that's where he said it came from. But apparently lawmakers here in the Commonwealth have not stated whether or not they will object if voters pass all of the ballot questions, if they would object to any of them actually going into force. And the first one that came to my mind is the first ballot question dealing with auditing the legislature. Now, I know there was no movement by legislators to talk it down, whether during session or after session. But I get the feeling, since they were against it before, that they would probably be against it again. More to the point, they have a couple of options. A, just don't do anything about it. But the other option is to take it to the state Supreme Judicial Court and let the court try to handle this particular question. I believe, and I voted last Monday, I voted that the state auditor should be able to audit the legislature. It seems like this is a slam dunk, not just from my feeling, but all of the polls indicate a strong support for auditing the legislature. What would you do? What would you say if the legislature decided, well, you know what? We can't let this happen, and we are going to force the issue. We're not going to let it go into effect. If Diane DeZoglio decides that on, let's say, January 23rd, that she wants to start conducting an audit of the legislature, and the legislature says, no, what would your response be? What are you going to try to do about it? 508-996-0500. Thank you for listening to WBSM on your smartphone, and thanks to SouthCoast Towing for allowing us to download the WBSM app onto our smartphone, and we can do it for free. 46 degrees in a Sonnet, 42 in Wareham, 46 in New Bedford. Chilly all of a sudden after such a great week of weather. As I mentioned earlier, today is your last day to register to vote for the upcoming election, which takes place on November 5. But in reality, according to the latest survey released by, I guess the Secretary of State gets this information, but nearly 1 million Bay Staters have already gone out to vote. I'm one of them. Barry, I know, has done so, and many others are getting ready to do it. Today, most polling places are open today. On Sunday, it's my guess that every single polling place, every single city and town will be closed because it's Sunday. But they will be open up again on Monday, and then you have from Monday through Friday, I believe, in order to vote at a polling place, or if you have a mail-in ballot. If you want to go that particular route, I guess you can always mail one in, but quite frankly, seems like it's a lot easier to do it the old-fashioned way. So I was at Market Basket, I'm guessing it was on Tuesday or Wednesday. And yesterday I was at Stop and Shop on Fonts Corner Road. And I decided, let's take a peek-see at the Halloween candy. Now, I don't know your thought process when you buy Halloween candy, but mine has been, if I'm going to buy Halloween candy, I'm going to buy something that I like in case there are leftovers. I don't want to have a bunch of candy sitting around that I'm not going to eat. So I will get the Snickers. I'll get the Starburst, Fireballs. Not every year, all of these, but at different times. Three Musketeers, Milky Way, Baby Ruth. And, normally I've been getting those miniature bars. And certainly over the past, let's say, decade and a half, when I would go out to buy it, I certainly would get the minis because it costs too much money to buy a large candy bar. I remember the first time I bought a Milky Way, it was 5 cents. Yeah, I know I'm going back to the 1960s. Same with the Snickers. Three Musketeers, they were 5 cents, but they were the first in my life to go up to 10 cents for a candy bar. And I just couldn't believe that they just jumped up 5 cents like that. But now, even the minis, you get a bag of these mini Baby Ruth, mini Snickers, $4.99. It seems the last time I bought them, they were $3, maybe $3.49, something like that. Now they're going for $4.99. And so, I don't know about you, but I'm debating, do I want to hand out Halloween candy this year? Is it really worth it? Because quite frankly, with the diabetes and whatnot, I'm probably not, and I say probably because I want to give myself the benefit of a doubt. I'm probably not going to eat a candy bar. I'm probably not going to have Starburst or Skittles. Great candies that I love to eat, but probably shouldn't be eating. So I don't know. Are you going through the same thing, or are you going to give out candy anyway? And if you are giving out candy, what kind of candy are you going to be giving out this coming Thursday? I'm curious because it's still a debate. Woman friend, she doesn't want to give out candy. That's what she says. But I got to tell you, and she might be listening, but I'm going to tell you anyway. She said that to me a couple of years ago. I don't want to be giving out. Why'd you go out and get candy? I don't want to be giving out candy. First, people came ringing at the doorbell, and I gave out the candy. Who do you think wanted to give out candy the rest of the night? Because she wanted to see the people in the costumes, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really debating this. Do I want to go out and buy candy? Not that I'm being cheap, but I got to tell you, the candy is expensive. And you don't just get one bag. One bag isn't good enough because one bag isn't going to take all the different people that are going to come around trick-or-treating. So then all of a sudden you have to get 2 bags, whether you get 2 bags of the same candy or one bag of one and another bag of the other, you're still getting 2 bags. And by the end of the trick-or-treating night, you've gone through one bag, but you've hardly gone through the second. And I know people say, well, take the candy to work. Well,